If it's a new brand, new product, new business development, that's different. But if you're in an existing business, small business, you need to start thinking like marketing's an overcoat. 5 sizes too big. And you've got to grow up.
Yeah.
Because if you've passed a line to say you're starting your own business, you have got to go over the line.
Yeah.
There's no going back. What happens if I don't invest?
Yeah.
Well, I may as well go and get my UB40.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So I was pushed. I was driven inside and pushed along. I was pulled along by circumstances. So when you start a business, there's no going back. We've got to have an objective. What do we want to achieve?
Yeah.
And that is the first thing you write down on a flip chart when you do a marketing clinic. What are we achieving? They've got to be smart as well.
Hi and welcome to Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. This podcast is specifically for business owners or wannabe business owners. Say you've got a side hustle or you've got a passion for something and you think it'd be absolutely amazing, or you see people that do amazing things with their passions and what they enjoy doing. Well, you can do that. So please subscribe and we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Hi and welcome to Breakout Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. Now today we've got the awesome Susan on the podcast, who is a marketing expert. Don't cringe, it's not allowed on the podcast. Marketing expert. Is that what we can call you?
Strategist.
Strategy. I can't say that, but what's his
Expert.
Yeah. And Lu from the awesome Toodlepip. If you followed us for 5 minutes or 5 months or 5 years, you'll know we love Lu. We tell everyone about it. So thanks for coming on today. Thanks for having us. Awesome.
Pleasure.
So first of all, tell us about yourselves. Tell us about what you do, your business, or who's going to go first, isn't it?
So I'll go first. So I'm Lu. I run Toodlepip Designs and Toodlepip Does Designs. 2 different businesses. First one I'll touch on a little bit is all about quote art. It's about peace, love, positivity. And then the second one, which is like what I would like to talk to you about today, is Toodlepip Does Designs, where I work with small and mighty business owners on their branding and how they come across their visual communication, social media, leaflets, signage, anything. Ask me if you want something in particular. If I can't do it, I probably can work out how to do it.
Amazing. All the ways on communication, which comes on nicely to Susan. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
I'm kind of like an old mum of marketing because I started my marketing career a long time ago, 1997. Prior to that, I was in store management retail and worked in academia. But for my marketing agency, which was born 1997, decided that marketing wasn't being understood by all businesses in the West Yorkshire area. And West Yorkshire area is a very big area, with 5 main towns. Yeah. And so I said, it's my mission. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to tell people all about marketing and how to market their businesses more effectively.
Amazing.
So over the 19 years of the business, it was very up and down and very challenging, but satisfying. Must have had over 200 clients, employed over 30 people.
Wow.
And worked with people locally, like in a local town, to global companies in California, across in Europe, and I've had a whale of a time doing that. Currently, I'm kind of like breathing, and I've just actually sorted out all the business, and sort of thinking about looking at opportunities to get involved with small businesses again, to share the knowledge, share the experience and support.
And that's loads of knowledge and experience, isn't it? That's just a wealth of knowledge and experience of what you've got by the sounds of it.
Well, I used to think that each year follows a similar year, okay? So that even though the business is 19 years old, and I won't tell you how old I am,
21. We're all
Yeah. So you think that each year is a fresh year, start again. But evidently in front of you today, you've got the young one and the old one. And I'm the cumulative knowledge of all those years and experiences with different people and different relationships. And when I look back now, I think I've been really, really lucky.
Yeah, definitely. And how's that? How have you found that? Because that's a lot of information over the years of just is it easy to pin down if someone could come in? So say like Lou came in with Toodlepip does design and went, right, okay, where do I start? What do I do? How do I?
Yeah, because there's no trick to marketing. It's a toolbox, and this is what I used to say to everyone. It's like a plumber has his tools in a box and goes to men's pipes. Marketing has a set of tools. It's how you apply those tools to get the desired outcome.
Yeah.
So a marketeer would think about the tools to apply in that situation, which would be the most appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't be using a hammer to put a screw in the wall, would I?
Yeah.
So that's the sort of like example I used to say. I used to run a lot of marketing clinics for micro businesses, and fortunately for me, a lot of those micro clinics were funded with Business Link. I don't know if you've heard of Business Link. West Yorkshire Ventures, different funding bodies. And I used to do 2 hours clinics, a bit like this, but not filmed.
Yeah.
And all the notes taken. And then from the notes, we'd write up a strategy and they take it away and off they go. From that kind of working with that kind of setting to becoming part of a larger group, like being director level, C-suite level, with larger companies and being the voice of marketing in a larger organisation. And the most scariest for me was working for Asda, cutthroat business people. Do not have any patience with suppliers. Right, so that was the cutthroat one. The kindest people to work with in the big arena was Marks and Spencer and Sainsbury's. Absolutely love them. The other sector that's really, really worth mentioning is further education sector, where you were greeted as a friend. So the relationships went from very professional one-to-one, with smaller businesses who came to you as a professional person, seeking professional advice and guidance. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you're becoming part of a broader team and supplying your expertise on a different level. So, and all that in between. So kind of like a rainbow, really, with lots of layers in it.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. So my background was at Green King, and I was in purchasing, so I'm a qualified buyer. And we had a load of buyers bought in from the big four, so the big four retailers, so Sainsbury's, Tesco's, etc. And yeah, exactly what you said. It was we were told, right, this is the way we're going, and you need to like slam the phone down on suppliers, and you need to tell them where to go. We're the boss, and I'm like, it's not how I work. That's not my negotiation style. I'm very much, I'll use silence. I'll let people keep talking, because the more you get to, the more you listen, the more you get out of them. And it was interesting. And it's funny you've said that, because it was very, very cutthroat. I'm like, I'm not like that. I want to be everyone's friend. We can't be, that's not good. And then I was almost trained to be told, well, that's not a good way of working. And I'm like, well, okay, that might not be good for this scenario. And then taking from that, because that was 10, 15 years ago. I'm still only 21, but it's 10, 15 years ago. And coming out of that, so exactly as you say, those small and micro businesses that then come into us, we have exactly that. And so advertising, Toodlepip does design to Toodlepip designs, it's a completely different conversation. Then you'll throw a tradesman into a mix of where they might be marketing. And it's most fascinating thing to me, and hands up, I'm not qualified in marketing at all. It's just been from that knowledge and experience. Is a lot of people come in, and the classic I get is like, right, who's your target market? Like, everyone. And I'm like, I promise you, it's not.
Yeah. There's some givens when you look around, there's some givens. In the small markets like hairdressing and beauty and, that sector, they want a strong identity and they want to appeal across the board.
Yeah.
Plumbers, electricians, they don't need fabulous logos. They just need factual information painted on a van.
Yeah.
They don't need to do any more than that. So, that's low-level marketing, which will work and will work cost-effectively in those trades.
Yeah.
But for some companies and products and brands, it's got to be a little bit more underpinned by a bit more seriousness.
Yeah.
And what you've just referred to is what we refer to as market segmentation.
Yeah.
So we cut the market like a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Okay, and we cut it into by age, but using demographics by age, lifestyle, geographic, geodemographic, or you might cut it by benefit segmentation, where you're saying your product and service has 10 benefits. Yeah. Well, let's look at that benefit, and then 2025 we'll look at that benefit, and that will be the core message for 2025, because that's our strongest benefit. And guess what? That benefit is our top USP against our competitor.
Yeah.
So you have to do the thinking before you do the doing.
Yeah.
And that's where strong marketing skills are required. And the people that come into you and say, I want to appeal to everybody, that is, like you suggest, it's not achievable. We've got to start somewhere in the cake.
Yeah.
So if we just say, right, I want to target dog walkers,
Yeah.
I'm going to target dog walkers in Long Melford first, because I know there's a lot of dog walkers in
Yeah.
Long Melford. So that's where I'm going to put myself out in local publicity, posters in shops and things like that. And then I'm going to do a bit of networking, and then I'm going to register my services on bark.com.
Yeah.
And you think, well, bark.com is an international platform because it's internet. But guess what? You put a search criteria in there like you do on Rightmove, and you find a dog service that you're looking for. So anybody that's in doggy walking, doggy hotels, doggy holidays, doggy grooming should be on bark.com.
Yeah. It's interesting you say Bark. Have you used them before?
No, I've looked at it. I'm thinking there's a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
And there's 36% of our population has a dog, has one dog. That's the answer. Well, when I go to St Ives on my holidays, I see couples of my age that obviously all the kids have flown.
Yeah.
And this is what, and my husband looks at me and we're having our pint, and I say, how many dogs have they got? And then you see older people who's obviously been looking after their doggy all their lives. I see this in our village, and they bring the dogs to the village in prams because the dog can't walk very far. So we're a nation of dog lovers. So there's a lot of dog business out there to be had. But to structure it might give you an advantage, competitive advantage.
Yeah, definitely. And how have you worked together? Have you done what together? What have you done? So
Yeah, I do want to talk about a fun. I worked for my mum.
Yeah.
For her business Ask Insight as a marketing assistant and designer. So which was really interesting, wasn't it? So mum's business, and I said when I'm older, I'm never going to run my own business.
That's funny how that works out.
And it's like history is repeating itself, and I'm so glad that what happened changed my mind off. Anyway, so yeah, we worked, and it was an interesting year, wasn't it? We did all sorts.
That was the year we went to AdTech.
Yeah, in London. I did have the first exhibition for digital marketing
in London.
Oh, wow.
That was like putting it out there. Big star, wasn't it? We were next to Google, weren't we?
Yeah. And what did you do? Was it
AdTech? It was an AdTech exhibition, and we had our agency. Well, I set up in our agency. We invested in this software, which was fantastic. It was like software that tracked data real time.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea was that we had a stand there using this software. We use it for other clients. We use it on client relationship management and performance measurement. That's what the software was for some of our bigger clients. But we thought we'd use this software at this exhibition to monitor everybody that's coming in, to track their route around the exhibition, to track which stands they visited at that exhibition. And then we gathered all that data and then we shared that data.
I remember doing all the pie charts for that data.
Yeah, doing all the doing the analytical. But you see, for the people on the stands, they knew who'd visited their stand, where they came from, what the dwell time was, and where they went next. And for the exhibition organisers, ditto, but thousands, multiples for every visitor. So it's a very clever piece of kit. But that clever piece of kit for a small business was a massive investment, because you're talking about the cost of printing, the cost of running a business. That software alone was like 14,000 a year, unserviced. So that was the license to use that software. And then I employed someone that was really good with that software. And he was a bit of a maverick, a bit of a naughty, but we got on. He was fun, but he was naughty. And he had some spice to the office, put it that way. And he could do anything with that software. And that gave the business a bonus. That's when Lucy joined it.
Yeah. So just talk me stepping back. So in my head, if you've got a bit of software and I'm walking into an exhibition and that can tell you exactly what I've done, where I've visited, who I've done, like in our framework, is that just someone walking behind me go, right, doing that, right? She's like,
no, it's digital tracking. So I'm not that technical, because I am like the ideas person.
Yeah.
I don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
I employ people who knows the stuff I don't know. Yeah. And then your agency is like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it?
Meetings of a good manager, taking on the people.
Leadership, I'll pay you the X, Y, Z. Yeah. This is what I want you to do. You'll go and do it and explain to me what the results are.
Yeah, perfect.
I understand that.
And that data is invaluable, isn't it, to your business?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if they use it correctly. So it's like when because I do a lot of bookkeeping, and you'll get people, they'll have their tills or they'll have their sum up machine or whatever it is. And some people will just put in the amounts. Oh, I've sold that picture as £10, so I've been £10, rather than setting up like what picture it is and and stuff. And the number of times I have a conversation with people and I'm like, they're just setting up. I'm like, right, let's set it up. Oh, it's too much work. I'm like, but if you set it up like that now, the data you'll get out of it to tell you, well, what's the good seller? What's the bad seller? I said, because if you're trying to think, and we always try and get to people to think where you're going to be in 5 years. If you want to grow and get really big, then that groundwork's already done for you. And that's, I suppose, one of my biggest issues with when you're talking to someone about their business. They don't want to put that, I haven't got time, because they don't see the value in that data a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line. And that's
that is why my business changed name from Susan Kenyon to Ask Insight. Because I was above the line marketing. That's the thinking side. That's the intelligence gathering. That's looking at customers, customer knowledge, customer behaviour. And so that was the bedrock of all business for me, was customers. If you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. And some of the problems that I had was, I've got a fantastic product. They come and say, oh, well, yeah? And who is your customer? Well, you have to tell me that. You have to shape your offer around a need or a solution that's required in the marketplace. You have to shape it around a customer. So it's customer identification. So without a customer, you're dead in the water.
Yeah. I think the simplest example I can think of that is, and it's a recent one, is I've been working with a plumbing and heating company.
Yeah.
And they said, what do I put on my social media? I don't really want to put a photo of pipework. I don't mean to put a foot. Well, that is the feature, but you need to show the benefit. So you show the happy family in a warm kitchen enjoying their time together because they don't have to worry because the radiators come on.
Yeah.
Or, the hot cup of tea next to a window with rain on and it's a nice and cozy environment. It's selling that benefit and to the customer that you want to target.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. And I think a lot of people they think they have to literally show the pipes. I want to show the pipe work. Actually, that's why we have a plumber, so we don't have to worry about that side of things. I don't need to know about the pipes, don't need to know what they look like, what they do, nothing, but I need you, that person. And it's surprising the number of people of, especially and I think of the customer focus side of things, people buy from people. And it's that, and I've worked with, so my husband's a plumbing and gas engineer, and it's that, and I've said to him a couple of times, put your face on your profile. I said, you are going into people's homes, so when someone's recommended you on Facebook, you've been tagged, they look on your profile, they know exactly who's going to turn up, and it's going to be the right person. I said, because you've got this whole trust issue nowadays, and it is not scaremongering, but we get people knocking at the doors. No one answers the door. It's like if someone rings your landline, no one's answering the landline because everyone rings your mobile. But it's just that recognition of, oh, okay, he's been tagged, this who. So when I ring him, that's who's going to turn up at my door. And it's I don't know, it's just the number of people that are like, oh no, I don't want my face on there. But I'm like, but you're a customer facing, like it's you on your brand.
Yeah, it's personal, part of personal branding,
Yeah.
and but personal branding and the product branding is separate. But putting the face there establishes trust.
Yeah, exactly that. And is there some takeaways from the big companies to help the micro and small companies? Is that, because like you said about going back to the cost side of things, and that's 14 grand, that, I don't know about you, Lou, I'm never going to spend that, but I know that data would be probably too much at one point, but invaluable in some respects. But I suppose all the small businesses, all us micro businesses are just so eager, but the biggest issue we have is money to start with. Anyone who walks in, I want to start a business, okay, well, I've got the money, okay, well, it's...
Yeah, I think like I've got my model of marketing that I've always used. I've scribbled it down again for us. I think you can talk about marketing as a capsule marketing. Like talk about capsule wardrobes, capsule marketing. You put together at the beginning of every year. And now's a good time to do this in December because most of my work was done for new clients in terms of pitching and writing proposals from November to February. Because the budgets are coming out in April. So your financial year. So you wanted a marketing budget in place for the end of March to kickstart 1st of April, whenever. And in that year, you just put in that marketing plan, if you like, that strategy, the things you need to achieve. So the things that I've written down here is we've got a marketing objective. What is that?
Yeah,
what do you want to achieve? It's got to be smart. You've got an idea. If it's a new brand, new product, new business development, that's different. But for an existing business, small business, you need to start thinking like marketing's an overcoat. 5 sizes too big. And you've got to grow up. Because if you've passed a line to say you're starting your own business, you have got to go over the line. There's no going back. And that's how I used to say to myself, every time I had a big decision to make, like the investing in the new software, what happens if I don't invest?
Yeah.
Well, I might as well go and get my UB40. It's as simple as that. So I have other responsibilities. I could not do that. So I was pushed. I was driven inside and pushed along. I was pulled along by circumstances. So when you start a business, there's no going back. We've got to have an objective. What do we want to achieve? And that is the first thing you write down on a flip chart when you do a marketing clinic. What are we achieving? They've got to be smart as well. Everyone knows that mnemonic. Smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and trackable. It still stands today. That's been in all the big marketing books forever, ever and ever, but it still works. what's your aims and what's your goal?
Yeah.
I aim to do this, but my goal is this, my objective is this. All separate, all different things, but you need to write them down on a bit of paper, like I've written mine down. Okay. And then I think you need to start thinking about research. And you talked about big companies and little companies. We're talking about a sole trader that's doesn't employ anybody. It's just them.
Yeah.
Okay. Going the right way to what? 30,000 employees. They're all going to think very, very differently because they're all governed by different structures, different behaviours, different cultures, different languages, and different goals and ambitions. Yeah, so it's a bit of infighting in the bigger ones. In the smaller businesses, it's easier to be change. It's easier to introduce change. It's easier to try stuff out that's new. You haven't got this dinosaur of a company behind you that takes a committee to decide what the marketing budget is for 2026. You know, and it's 2025 and we've got to get on with it. So big companies, I think I've just finished working on a 3-year contract in a very, very lovely business, which had green credentials and everything. It was like all my career had come to a point, and I was working in a business that was driven by ethics and green credentials. What a wonderful business to work in. In there, we had 5 different departments, all with 5 different ambitions, and bringing those together. And I was the marketing person brought in, and I was the one that was the most challenging to live with because they hadn't had a marketing person before. And this was a typical business with 50 employees. So, you know, that's I call that medium-sized business. So all businesses have different goals, different ambitions, different cultures, different styles, different products, different services, different markets, different competition, different legals. I could go on. So no one business is the same.
No, completely not. And what's that process like going in there that's the first marketing person to go in there? Because it's like if you ever say to someone, right, we need a marketing plan, they're like, okay. what am I doing? And you're like, right, okay, we need to step back. And it's interesting to see, like, or if people come in and they've got a bit of an idea of what they've done, or they've half done it, or they just, how's that? Because I remember at Green King we'd butt heads with marketing and purchasing quite often because we're looking at price, they're looking at expense. So how was that stepping in? And
stepping in, it was a presentation, the first thing I did. And I went in dressed as a professional person. Well, where I worked, they don't dress as professional people. So I looked so different to them. I looked like the bank manager walking in, you know, and they were there in their casuals. I'm not going to disclose which business it was. And they're there in their casuals, and I'm there like this lady with lipstick on in a suit. Who the heck's she? You know. But I brought them down into little departments and groups and trained, you know, did some training, did some sharing. And eventually, I started to wallpaper the whole room with brand ideas and strategies. And I did a walk-in to get individuals buy-in to what marketing was all about. And that was quite, so we plastered the walls with paper with bits of marketing on. And then did a walk-in, have a coffee, go away. Yeah.
And this was that getting, because people obviously don't like change.
No, well, the idea, I think, what I bring down here is you've got to understand and create a common understanding. What my brief was in that business was nothing to do with what they were doing on a day-to-day basis. Because my brief was what the business looks like in 2 or 3 years' time. So I had to be that visionary with the owner of the business and the managing director. And we were talking strategy, and they were talking about how many products to get out that week. So on different levels of the organisation. But obviously I took an interest in what we were doing. But I was looking far ahead, saying, this business will fail if we don't generate new customers. Because our customers were of a certain age, and I thought they're not digital people, they're not digital customers. So market segmentation there was absolutely key to identify new types of customers to that business and attract them using a national campaign.
Yeah, amazing. And how much have you taken on and learned and used in Toodlepip?
Well, so when I did work with Mum, she talked about doing her marketing clinics. My brand workshops are pretty much the branding and design, equivalent. I'd be stupid not to ask my mum's opinion. Obviously, she's got a huge brain of marketing and strategy, and sometimes it's a bit too much for my little brain. I just want to draw a little pretty picture.
It's a different brain.
The one thing that probably has the strategy side of things. So something that was one of my aims for this year, which I've just managed to get in, is to delve a bit deeper into a small business and how that aids the branding, the design work that comes from it.
Yeah.
And I've created something called a branding journal, and I've been through it with one of my customers so far, and it was to really kind of pinpoint what she does, what's the benefit, in one sentence, what is her, the feature, the benefits from that. It was who her target audience was, and we even characterised them. They were called Jubilee. She worked in mid-level management in the NHS. We so pinpointed her, and from that we talked about visions, and then we managed to get a strapline from just us chatting about it and the journaling, and then the deliverables, and so they're with the concept are with her now, so fingers crossed. She likes them, but I'm very proud of the work. I think that it got the chat that we had was quite emotional. I learned so much more about her as a person, as a business, and that has aided my design work quite a lot. So there's definitely the strategy side of things that I've inherited from my mum. Has definitely aided. Also, the fact that she's so driven, motivated, inspirational. Thank you, Les. She's my rod, and she's mine. Toodlepip wouldn't exist without my mum, because as some people might know, I've got 3 kids that I need a lot of help with, and she's there to
Mary Poppins.
She's there to make sure that I've got enough toilet roll, enough hats. She's there as a sounding board for the business and ideas for customers. We are a team, and so it's nice to do a podcast with her.
And they just come in there, because historically, in West Yorkshire, I was like, our business was about strategy and research. Okay, so we're pitched as consultants. So people say, right, well, what do you provide? Do you do a brochure? I said, well, we can go to a brochure, but we'll do the bit before. If marketing 330 is like divided into three equal parts, the thinking's a third, the creative is a third, and the strategy is a third. The comms, externals, that's the internals and the externals. And that's how I've always thought of it. I was up against, in Yorkshire, a lot of design agencies that didn't like me. Because I put the brakes on their pictures. They wanted to create a picture, and I said, hang on a minute, we don't know what shape it is, we don't know what colour it is, we don't know who the customer is, we don't know what name it is, we don't know the benefits of this. And they said, well, we can do all that. We don't need you, Kenyon. And they used to call me Kenyon. We don't need you, Kenyon. And I said, well, you go away. And so there's a few design agencies that are really notable in West Yorkshire that was just kicking me away. Because they didn't really value the above the line stuff. They thought they could do it. And I used to say to them, I can't do your pictures, so, and I won't try. Recently, in this last couple of years, those agencies are now to their strategists and design agencies. So they've added strategy to their design and creative function, which is a very clever coupling, but it's a right and proper way to do it. Because before we get so-and-so involved on the creative, we need to talk to Susan on the pre-work. And they're doing this, and they're doing it really well. And what they're doing is actually solving the problem that I originally encountered when I set up my business in 1997. They're looking at customers, they're looking at strategy and developing brands around those inside. And not only that, we're looking at competitors as well. And one of my favourite jobs used to be doing competitor analysis. Oh, I used to have an individual who was really spot on for competitor analysis. And the clients used to love it because it gave them a big Excel spreadsheet with all their competitors on against 30, 40 headings. We'd really unpick their offer and say what they're doing, where they're doing it, and we unpicked all the USPs, and then we used to put their company on the top, in the top row, and say, right, how do we differentiate from this? How do we differentiate from this? And then we used to construct the product against the competition. Just doing, well, it was a big piece of work. And the big piece of work we did, the one I'm most proud of was for Silmark Industries, which is Californian. And they came to us, and it was wonderful to film that Irish supplier. And he said, you must come out to California, Susan. You've got horses, we've got horses. We could go riding together. And my mum would love to meet you. And that was Silmark Industries. I never got there, but he really liked the work that we did. And his work was for an air purifier in 2011, something like that. And the other thing that I learned from projects like that, I learned about products. I didn't know about air purifiers until he met me and started to talk to me about. He didn't know about the UK market till he met. So it was always going to be a win-win. I've actually delivered a service for a numbers of people, numbers of businesses, but I've learned such a lot. And my brain bursts with what I've had. And my husband says to me, you know too much. You need too much.
Oh, right. I've got about 1 million questions out of it, but you just said.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. The first one was obviously starting in 1997 to now. You've gone through the whole digital, online, having a website, into social media. How's that been? Because when you set up, it was face to face and the fairs that Lu does and all of the how's that work? How's that been because that's a whole new strategy of online and
digital marketing is not my forte, right? To me, you're not going to like this. The digital people. Digital marketing is a channel. And it's in the bottom third of my marketing plan, where I've got written down promotion and communications. Digital. Are we going digital or are we going offline? Are we doing big adverts in the papers, in the new in lovely glossy magazines, on hoardings, on the roadside, or we're going to just go online? Is going? And yes, there has been that massive shift to digital marketing. And I don't have the tools. So if someone came to me and said, Susan, can you do me a website? Yes, I can do your website, but it won't be me doing it, it'll be someone else. But I can put the thinking behind the website, as I have done, with other people's websites. I've created my own websites for research purposes, which was very clever and very lovely thing to do for a college. But I don't actually have the technical know-how and will never develop enough sort of skill and expertise in that area to even be able to talk about it confidently with a business. I wouldn't do it. I'd say, sorry, pass.
Yeah.
But digital, you're right, it has come in. And yes, we have got everything's digital now, everything's social media. I cringe when people talk about their strategy is they're going on socials. I cringe because I think socials is about consumers. On LinkedIn, we have a business audience,
Yeah.
and people are now using LinkedIn as like they use as social platforms. They're putting a picture of the doggy up there. That's lovely. That's lovely. It makes it all very rounded and family and friendly feel. But there's a place for different communications on different channels. And digital is massive. And I welcome it. I value it because my whole life is digital at the moment. I'm buying and selling a house and the solicitors don't even talk to me, don't even meet with me. I think it's disgusting customer service.
We've got a lady, she's 93 and she's trying to sell her house, and she comes in to see us with her iPad, and she went, they insist it all has to be all those DocuSign, everything. She goes, I can't cope with it. She goes, I just want to sit with someone. And on the flip side of that, I've met a accountancy company quite recently who are looking at accountancy in a completely different way. So rather than, here you go, here's my year end, they sign it off and they do it, oh, by the way, you've got to pay this much tax. They're actually going to be working through the year. So they said, we take people on who work through the year. No, we're not the cheapest, but we will meet you every quarter and talk about and do some strategy. So they'll pull someone like yourself in to go, right, you need to go and speak to Susan. You need to talk about your marketing strategy and they look at get industry trends and everything. So for me, it's been, I've just gone on a massive tangent from where I was going to start on that point, but it's been really interesting because and dear old Gwen, her house fell through, bless her, but she said it was just made the whole thing so much more stressful for her. But on the flip side, I had a tradesman, so he wasn't a plumber, but a tradesman in the other day, and he was like, oh, do you do websites? Well, we do websites. He's like, oh, I really need a website. And I was like, okay, I'm not trying to sell myself. Like, if you want me to do a website, I will do your website. But is that the best use of your marketing money? Like, because I don't think you need a website unless you're like, we've got one plumbing company that do annual plans, and they're trying to be a bit like what not trying to be, but they are doing what British Gas, so you pay a tenner a month and that sort of thing. I said, so why do you want a website? Why just mean when people Google I want to come up? I said, well, we could do Google My Business, and even like your Facebook page is public, so that will come up. It's like, oh, I need a website. And it's interesting because even us that I do websites, I do social media, but we'll still have that conversation with people of like, we've got a gardener in the village, and once a year he puts an advert in the local parish magazine. That's all he does, and he gets all his work from it every year.
And it's interesting because, like, in one way, I agree with that. Just put something you'll notice in those little village magazines. But whenever I'm looking to whichever hat I'm wearing and I'm looking for something, I'm straight to online.
Yeah.
And then I look at the website and I think, I work my way through it and I think, yeah, that's there's some trust there. And the website actually offers the opportunity to tell the story about where you've come from, what you're doing, and customer testimonials. So it is a valuable resource if they've got the budget to do that. But if they haven't got the budget to do that, then the advert in the local magazine and the post through the post office is adequate. But they have to grow up, these businesses. These businesses can't be micro businesses forever. And that's a decision that you have to make. Are you going to be a sole trader all your life? Is your objective to earn 60 grand a year or whatever it is? And I'm going to sell knitted jumpers. Is that all? Well, I'm happy with that. Well, if you're happy with that, great. But if you've got ambitions above and beyond that, you've got to take yourself seriously. And you've got to think, well, yes, I could do with a website to portray that professional image.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's interesting that the gardener, he came in, he always comes in twice a year, beginning and end of season. And so he popped in end of season and he was like, oh, can you I just want to mim my advert. And we did that for him. And he said, you know what? He wanted some contacts and recommendations for some other tradesmen. So I gave him my numbers and he came back and he said, not one of them answered the phone. And he said, you know what? One thing I do, I will always answer the phone and I will always call everybody back. And the number of people nowadays who will just say, yeah, of course, they didn't even call me back. Like there wasn't.
Yeah.
And he said, I get people who now wait for me because I'll call them back and go, you've got to wait 4 to 6 weeks. He said they will wait for me just because I called them back. It's that all of that care and communication, and it's something we'll be talking a lot more about pre-breakout in the next year, because I think a lot of people have kind of stopped that. And it's like you're saying about the design agency versus the strategy side of things. Everything we do is about collaboration. There's always, I think, a fit for everybody. When the minute someone, like they say to us, they come in, I want a logo. Okay, what's your budget? What do you want to do? And then we'll go, right, speak to Lu at Toodlepip. That's what I want to do. They're like, I've got no budget. I've got no money. Okay, well, we can quickly do something on Canva for you. You've got that. It doesn't take us long. You've got that. As long as you like it, absolutely fine. However, make a note, depending when you wanted to make yourself seriously and you want to grow up a bit. I don't tell them to grow up though, not to their faces. But then that's your next step. When you've got that money, that's how it comes into. And I suppose that brings me on to because obviously big companies have got a whole marketing budget and they can do that, whereas the micro businesses, you go, which marketing budget? They'll be like, my what? And how do you find speaking to dealing with the micro businesses in that way? Because I'm guessing they're like, glee, hold of your information out.
Well, numbers of businesses that's come to me and said, we want to do this, but we've no money.
Yeah.
And so I can't help you.
Yeah.
That's it. So your marketing objective, what's your business objective? So people get business planning and marketing planning mixed up.
Yeah.
They're two different items.
Yeah.
So where's your business plan? You've set your business up.
Yeah.
Where do you want to be in 12 months' time? How much turnover are you going to use? How much turnover do you hope to generate?
Yeah.
Right, 10% of that into your basic marketing plan.
Yeah.
So it probably won't be enough, but it'll be enough, like you say, to kick stuff off. And then for it to get some gravitas, 3 monthly, review, reflect, redo, change.
Yeah.
So because small micro businesses are that, they're small, they're dynamic, they can change, they can invest, they can divest, they can close down, they can change, they can open another customer. We used to deal with small businesses, and there's a number of them, well, a small number of them would be Phoenix business.
Yeah.
So you'd be having one business, and then 6 months later, that changed the name.
Yeah.
And so you do business with people that if you like people and you get on with people and you believe in what they're doing, you support them.
Yeah.
A lot of my business, micros, was I was a registered consultant with West Yorkshire Ventures, Business Link, and I listed a whole other accredited, the British Accreditation Bureau for Business Consultants. I had that behind me, so I had access to funding for appropriate projects.
Yeah.
But they had to be proven. You couldn't just go and get 10 grand for a project without a document that stated all your deliverables, your objectives. And I was fortunate that I was a star player in that arena, and I got a number of those projects.
It's amazing.
That was one brand. That was my micro side, SME side of the business.
Yeah.
Then the other side was like larger organisations, and then another avenue of revenue was public sector.
Yeah.
Education, which
How was public sector?
sorry,
How was public sector? That's my red safe and public sector. That's my absolute
I
night.
can tell you a funny story. I can tell you a very funny story. I was commissioned as a consultant on a very big project. I can't tell you which local authority it was, otherwise, they'd cut my head off. And the client I had was very dynamic, and he was new in the job, and it was a very big project, which it required the town to be closed down for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine the committees.
Yeah.
Hold on. I remember this one.
And I loved this client, and he loved me, and we used to argue all the time.
Brilliant.
And he used to ring me up he rang me up one night, and I got everything done, and I got my pajamas on. It was midnight. I was ready to go to bed. But we had a meeting the following day, and he was reading the notes at 1 minute past midnight, and I'm in my pajamas, and he rang me up and he said, "Susan, I want just to go through this sentence with you again, the meaning behind this." And I went, "Malcolm, I'm going to bed. Bye." So that was that. So, but the relationship had developed into this kind of we know what each other's like, we know what our tolerances are, and he knew that he couldn't call me after midnight. End of and bed. And but it was really funny because what we did, we made a film as well. So making a film with like 10,000 hours of editing to sort out was a monster. But I didn't do the editing, the film company did, but it was something for me to line manage. And every meeting we went, I got the cameraman in.
Yeah.
And he filmed everything. And we got decisions made because everybody was being watched.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a game changer.
It was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah.
We also had a client that the big client, we're talking about big clients, demanding client. And this one, she was out so. But she was like an interesting person, very challenging.
Character.
Yeah. And she said to me, "Susan," I went, "Yes. I want the results in 20 minutes. Rig me back." And I went, "Oh, right." Put the phone down. And I said to my colleague at the time, one of my closest colleagues, "How much money have we spent on this client this month?" And he said, "Oh, it's about 22k, Susan." I went, "Oh, I better do it then. I better get back to her in 20 minutes because they owed us 22k. That's when a big organisation owes a smaller organisation 22k. They've got you, they can hold you to ransom.
Yeah.
So you've got to do it. So the behaviours of the bigger organisation, not all like that, but it does happen. And you feel kind of like intimidated by their power. But equally, it was challenging and a good business to put on your portfolio. So, I've got lists of clients here that and it got me other work. I've worked with this organisation, right, we'll work with you too. So you go through the sludge and come out the other side. Even though you feel you're treading in treacle, most of the time you get out the other side and you say, what are the benefits of working there? We got paid, PR, experience, endorsement.
100.
Good job.
Yeah.
So smaller businesses, it's more personal relationship. And it's more intimate, isn't it? It's more intimate. So, and they look to you as their advisor. So you're in a different part of the room, a different part of the building. Yeah. And I've been privileged to help as many businesses as I have done.
Yeah. And that's amazing because it is. And I think that's really important for small businesses because some days we did our own small business wrapped the other day on socials. And one of them was, how many times do you want to quit and work at Tesco? Because you do. Some days you're like you said, I don't want to I don't want the responsibility.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I mean, I wrote down on some of these notes, what, to be successful. Lucy and I talked about success, didn't we? The different definitions of success, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because
Not always financial.
No.
And not financial.
Right. Time's a massive factor.
Yeah. And the thing is that as a business owner, I'm doing what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Like the days where I've wanted to work at Tesco's are very few and far between, to be honest. I'm very lucky. I don't know whether that's just because, my job, my business suits me as a person. I go from drawing squirrels to painting someone's porch to coming up with someone's branding that they absolutely love and they're so proud. And so I've got my dream job, basically. I can't really complain. The accounting side and the admin side and the doing all the naff bit, it's not that bad, but you get through. But I think the other thing is getting to work with small businesses is perfect for me. I feel like I'm being their like branding mate, or they can just ask me a question. They feel like it's a natural, it's a connection. I love doing it. And then being so lucky to have found you guys and being in the team, part of the team, and just having that. I get to soundboard to you, soundboard to my mum. I'm very lucky, to be honest, because I think when you were running your business and the stakes were a lot higher, who did you have to soundboard off?
Yeah, I've just written down the qualities that you have to have.
Sorry, I went on a tangent then, didn't I?
I think if you start your own business, you're a very different animal to someone who goes and works, for a corporation or a public sector person.
Massively.
It's like lions and tigers.
Yeah.
Okay, we're different.
Yeah.
And because of that, my working life was more problematic in some ways than my husband's working life was. He had colleagues, he had bosses, he had a paycheck guaranteed every month.
Yeah.
Which was my benefit as well. But and he had a big fat pension.
Yeah.
Or not that fat, but he had a pension.
Yeah.
When you set off on your own business, you don't have all those, I call those luxuries. Maslow would call those hygiene factors.
Yeah.
They're luxuries in a sole trade as well. I'm setting up my own business. Yeah, but where's your wages going to come? I don't know.
No.
I've no idea yet. I haven't got customer yet, but I'm going to sell my service.
Yeah.
So, and you bundle along like that for how long it is, and to get through those early days, and even the tricky days, if you're established, you need resilience, you need courage, you need strength, you need a belief in what you do.
Yeah.
You need to change course if needed. You need to adapt when you need to adapt. So you might need to drop your product and start again. There's commitment, I think. There's no going back. You've made that decision. Be true to yourself. If you feel that's your journey, you start the journey. You go over the line and grow. And this journey, it's a journey. There's no end. And that is a problem for some businesses, because once you start, what the devil do you do if you want to get out? Well, I know from my experience that that's where some businesses need to start. They need to write down their objective. I want to retire with £250,000 in the bank. Right, whatever it is, that's a personal objective. I want to generate a product that's going to be so successful that it's going to give me an income for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Or I want to create a company and generate, jobs for 10 people, So you need to get some shape, size and form to your business before you start, really. But most people, I guess, start like Lucy and I did. My father died. I had a fantastic job. It was well paid. I did have the first mobile phone. It was a brick. Right.
You put the credit card in it.
You did. Lucy came to the Vodafone shop with me. But I had a fabulous job working in local education, further education. I had a fabulous job in marketing and business development. I was a very well respected member of the team. I had a very bright future with a pension, the brick phone, a laptop, the whole shebang. And I was doing really, really okay. And then my father died, and it hit me like a train and threw me off course. This is adaptability. my principal says you can take off as long as you need, Susan, to recover from this horrible surprise death, which is the worst one to deal with.
Yeah.
And I said, right then. So I took I think it was a month, 2 months off. And then I rang him up and said, I'm not coming back. And my husband said that was the worst decision you've ever made because now he's retired and on his pension and everything. And I threw away my pension. I threw it down the road. And he was building this up. And, he was surrounded by couples working in the same company who equally enjoyed those lovely benefits and luxuries. And I went, no, I'll buy my own mobile phone. I'll get my own computer. I'll go out in my little Fiat Panda and I will start my journey. And that's how I started my company. And within 4 weeks, I was in Menorca. What do you golf club? Yeah, Menorca Golf Club. I was writing their strategy for them.
Not playing golf.
I was going to say, the way you said that, I was in Menorca. I was like, just went Pete's home, so I went on holiday.
No. That was my first contract. And I got the suit up, flew out there with the briefcase. I had a gorgeous briefcase. Spent a week there, came back. And then someone who they knew got in touch with me who had 12 companies.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted me to do their marketing for them.
Lovely.
And then I got another what I call a really good client, a foundation client, looking for clients to underpin your business. The bedrock clients, if you like. Look for those clients on retainers to keep you going. And then we attracted. So it was like once you've gone over the line, you started to attract. And then people spoke about you. And then you got a reputation. And then the PR. And then it kind of all sort of started to unfold. And, like a snowball going down a hill. And suddenly I went from just myself to employing 6 people in 2 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was scary.
Yeah, I bet.
It was scary. I still didn't have the fat pension. The linings, the silver linings. I didn't have any of that. I was like going by the seat of my, I was just chasing my tail. Where am I going to
I was
get?
going to say, did you feel like you were winging it or just...
I was on a journey. It was scary, challenging, but I was getting a hell of a buzz out of that.
No. And did you ever suffer from imposter syndrome, or
No.
was it just like, I know this, I know what I'm doing?
Well, the reason why, going right back to the basics, why did I go into marketing? Well, I did a degree in marketing and economics, and when I did my first marketing assignment, I think it was year 3, 2 or 3. This guy was really good at marketing, teaching me. I did my first assignment, handed it in. I thought I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it appealed to me. I thought, it's better than quantitative analysis for business decision making, which I was doing that at the same time, which is statistics. I thought, well, I enjoyed doing marketing assignment. And it came back with a treble star on it. Excellent. I went, well, maybe that's my strength. And that one assignment seemed to change my journey.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going into marketing and I like the guy that's teaching me. I've been inspired. And then when I glued the economic side to the accounts and business development staff, I thought, I'm a rounded person marketing. Yeah. Then I became did through all the qualifications. I did diploma in marketing after my degree. And then I was voted in as the first female chair of the Institute of Marketing for Yorkshire.
Amazing. That's so good.
Ask me how that felt.
Well,
I walked into a room full of suits.
Yeah, I bet.
And I had a green suit on, a mini skirt.
Nice. Yes, love that.
And they didn't like me straight away.
No.
It was like, oh gosh, I felt like Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
I walked in with the handbag,
Yeah.
the mini skirt on,
Yeah.
and the lipstick, and they were all suits.
Yeah.
And I thought, And the first thing I brought out, and I got really challenged, and I thought, got to throw everything in the air here.
Flash it up.
Yeah. And on the agenda was the newsletter.
Yeah.
Right. And in marketing, I think everything's got to be pucker. It's got to be right. It's got to be bob on. I looked at the newsletter and I thought, oh, this newsletter's crap. Who does this? I do. So, and I said, we are the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Why is our newsletter look like it's been spun on someone's home computer
Yeah.
with a master that's just been badly edited?
Yeah.
And it's changing.
Please say they use Comic Sans. That'd be the tip of the iceberg, wouldn't it?
That melted the room, and I spent a lovely 2 years with those guys. And the secretary, which was a female,
Yeah.
she knew what could be said and what couldn't be said, and I was always saying it.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, just even now, and I've done a post about it today, and there's two elements to what you just said in terms of, I don't know if you still find it as well, Lou. So, like, I'm, for want of a better phrase, blackballed out of a networking meeting. I've been called a cowboy for what we do. It's all come from men. It's all come from men. And I just use that to crack on. Like, it's like, fair enough, whatever. Do you know what? If you don't want me in that room, I'm not part of that room then. That's my people aren't in that room. So we create our own rooms and we do different things. And but on the flip side of that, the number of small businesses, and I had one come to me most recently, and she goes, oh my word, you seem to have understood my business better than a PR company I used this year. And I said, all right, okay. I said, well, what did they do for you? Like what? Because there's no point us going over our ground, what worked, what hasn't worked for you. And she said, oh, well, I paid them $3,000. I went, right. And she went, and they did me a new logo. I went, I'm sorry, you used a PR company and she went, yeah, I don't think that was good value for money. And the sad thing is the number of small businesses that we have come in. So I'll have to suffer from imposter syndrome. I think, oh, is that right? And that's why I love the team around me, and I bounce things off of Lou as well. And you just to reassure yourself. But the number of people that have come in, and I think it's more online stuff as well, and social media, and they've just brought out new law about courses and subscriptions and stuff, about being clear about what people are getting, how long for, what they can get out of, because they're promised the absolute world. And I think my not frustration, but my biggest thing is, it's like, I've made 6 figures in this many times, I can do this, I can make your business do this. Well, no, you're not making my business do anything. And that's what I think a lot of small businesses don't realise. You've still got to put a massive amount of work in. It's not, no one's going to come and promise you the world, and they can't, like, oh, it's not going to be a magic wand and do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's evolved more recently because of social media and people using international companies that are saying, yeah, I'm a PR company. We have it a lot on the social media side, and people are like, well, how much is your social media a month? And we'll explain, well, it kind of ends up a bit bespoke, but we've got to kind of give it 2-3 months to see, because I've got to, like you say, you've got to know your business. I've got to understand your business a bit more. I can't just suddenly make a couple of Canva posts and off you go, you're going to get some clients. It doesn't work like that. And yeah, I just feel a number of people that have gone, oh, well, I used to pay $1,000 a month for my social media, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And they've seen our prices online, and this is why we've chosen to put all our prices out there and give a bit of an idea. But it's hard to explain what people get specifically, but we've tried to do that purely because, and for what that company came, but, and they were, well, how much would you charge for that? 450 quid. But, oh, have I been ripped off then? Oh, well, no, but did you get value of that? What was your return on that? How many new customers did you get? It's like the age-old thing where they're sold, we can get you 10,000 followers. When You don't want 10,000 followers. I'm telling you now, that's not a good thing. I said we've got 1,500, and I can probably scroll through a lot of those that they've come in to see us, or they've recommended us, or they've asked us a question. I will know each of them.
Yeah.
If I had 10,000 people asking me a question, I'm going to end up like being a headless chicken. I'm not going to be that productive. So I think it's evolved a lot, but I think it's almost people need to be more careful nowadays of who they're talking to and who they're asking to do business for them.
Well,
What they're signing up to.
It's always been like that across like marketing services, shall we call it? Because like, yes, I've been up against designers for strategy, and design's been up against me but I didn't do pictures. But like it's almost like you've got to know where your place is, really, isn't it? And your abilities and where your expertise lies.
Yeah.
I could do PR
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
I can write stories. I know the outlets. I know the channels.
Yeah.
I can produce ads for the UK and beyond in glossy magazines. I know everything. You can put it all together.
Yeah.
But you should rely on the expertise of others who are more able to do that for you.
Yeah.
But what happens is in economic climates is when there's very few budgets around, people start to go in other people's ponds.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening now. I think there's not a lot of budget around in some areas, and so therefore, you're developing a skill. You're communicating that you've got that expertise and that skill to do that, and you haven't. It'll all fall down in the end.
Yeah.
The cake, there's enough. We all want a piece of the cake.
Yeah.
What we have to do is generate more cakes,
Yeah.
and that's collaboration.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And that's what I think, like, we've worked really well together on, and we've just this. Yeah. Looks like my whole Canva course straight away. I'm like, well, you need a brand kit first on Canva. Oh, well, what's one of them? Right, here's Lou's details. This is how you contact Lou. But it's interesting when you were talking about yourself on both sides of the business, you said the word lucky twice. Which I always think it's interesting, because is it lucky, or is it that you've got a business plan and a marketing plan? Because you've already added, this year you added Toodlepip, wasn't it? Does design. So you've evolved and added and done that.
So I kind of fell into owning a business accidentally.
A bit like me.
It was a bit like you. Yeah. So COVID happened and the girls were like 2 and 3. And I got put on furlough from my proper job. Yeah. With the pension and the wage. And I loved that job. I absolutely loved working at that job. I think I went back when I had kids. It had changed. My priorities changed. As a person, I totally changed. I was a bit lost, probably. I didn't know who I was anymore. I think motherhood does that to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, COVID happened. I got put on furlough and I didn't want to go back. And then they said about redundancies. And I got the call that I was going to be made redundant, and I was happy. Sad as well, because it's the end of a chapter. I did cry. I think there was a bit of a relief, a bit of, oh gosh. And then I decided, well, I want to do something. I've always had a job, even before, when I worked at the stables when I was a teenager, I always had a responsibility, and I don't think I'd do very well without having something. So I thought, I'll get some paint, I'll get a Mac, I'll do this, do that. I just want to be able to pay to have my eyebrows done. That was my objective, the first objective. That was first goal. Is like, I don't want to have to ask Saul to give me money so I could, a little treat. I'm not
Independent.
Yeah. And then I started painting, and I look back at those paintings, they're horrendous, but people bought them. And then just carried on. And then accidentally got my first branding job. Because they said, and this lovely lady from down the road said, I love how you brand yourself, and I love your Instagram. I think it looks really nice. Can you do me a logo? And I was like, oh yeah. How much do you charge? 50 quid? Classic. And then I did that. I was like, oh, I really like that. And then other things happened, and I got doing other branding projects for other people, but it was all very silent. I think one of the things that as a business owner, you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
I talk out the window,
Yeah.
and I say that I welcome opportunities into my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's worked for me. I don't know who's listening. I think someone is up there listening.
Yeah.
And
that's all fake, gut instinct.
yeah.
Things happen for a reason.
And then it's not just self-belief. I know that someone out there,
Yeah.
I know my mum's my biggest, like, she'd obviously say go for it.
Yeah.
There's someone else out there that's like, yeah, you can do it. And I think that helps the mindset thing when running a business. And then I had Harry in 2023, and I made a decision. I either go for it or it's just going to just fizzle out because I've got 3 kids. Who has 3 kids and a business and is able to function properly? And then so I booked in brand photography with George.
Yeah.
And I booked in mindset training with Marie, and I've invested more money into myself and the business this year. And it is, I launched Toodlepip Does Designs, and
It's paid off.
it's really paid off. So there's no more accidental Lu, it's intentional Lu. And then, I'm ending the year and I'm a finalist in the East of England Business Awards. I've got to finally do my website. Who knows what 2025 is looking like, but I'm still welcoming all the opportunities into my life and my business. And I just, yes, it is luck, but I do work hard as well.
Yeah.
And I love what I do.
The difficulty I had in the early days was trying to identify just what we did.
Yeah.
Do we do research or do we planning?
Yeah.
What is it that we do that we're really good at? Stick to your strong points and stick to your knitting, or, just focus. And I thought, we're good at research. So we went down the research route and the planning route.
Yeah.
And I think that happened after 5 years of being in business. And then we started to really pedal in research, become members of Market Research Society, become certificate in market research. So we had those industrial credentials on our website.
Yeah.
And then we were fortunate to get into the Research Buyer's Guide, which I was so chuffed about because we got a client from Holland from the Research Buyer's Guide. And when I flew over to see them, you remember that one, don't you? We flew over to see them, so it was a very early start. I am going to Holland this time. So I got on the airplane, and we had ideas of what we're going to talk about because we'd had a brief emailed in English, and then we were in a big room full of about 8 people, only 2 spoke English. That was a bit of a barrier, we had language barrier. And the business wasn't a nice business. Right. The business was funeral funeral providers. Yeah. And their head office was a big sort of, it's horrible because it was like, I've forgotten the word now, what they were, where you take dead bodies.
Oh, mortuary.
Mortuary. They had a massive mortuary underneath.
Oh,
That head office. So it was a very interesting meeting, and I thought, how the heck did they choose Ask Insight from Research Buyer's Guide when there's another 400 companies in that Research Buyer's Guide?
Yeah.
And they just said they just chose that one and that one. It was just luck. And we're up against the Manchester agency for that one. On the airplane, on the way back at the airport, I actually got in touch with Lucy and I said, we need this translated. I'm going to type some notes. We need it translated into Dutch. And it needs to be on our desk tomorrow morning about 10 o'clock because I need to email it back, and I wanted to impress them that we were translator. So Lucy got a fabulous company in Leeds called Big Word, and they did it for us, didn't they? And we sent the notes back, and they got them by lunchtime the next day. They were impressed. So I thought that's so proud, how we handled all that quick exchange of notes. And we've impressed them. We got the job because we'd translated those notes. And the job, bless you, the job was really interesting. It was a full UK market research for the funeral business, the funeral industry. And I got to know a lot of things about what happens with funerals. I became a funeral specialist.
I was going to say, if you know,
Not just in the UK.
so many industry specialisms from.
My industry specialist, if I was going to mastermind, it would be funerals. But, I know we're joking apart because it's a very sad business, isn't it? But I got to research how funerals are evolving over time globally.
Yeah.
What is, we haven't got enough space on this little island. The leachate from the crematoriums is not environmental. And so I've got loads of like little factoids that's absolutely useless to me now. That would be useful. It would be useful to someone in the funeral industry.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, and the reports about that thing too.
Yeah, oh, it's amazing. But I guess it's still hard because when people say marketing, people think of, they might go, oh, it's a website. Oh, it's a logo. Oh, it's so like you say, to pigeonhole into that. Well, not pigeonhole, it's the wrong phrase, but to niche into that research and planning. The same as like when you said about the design agency, like how does that look as a marketing expert when people come, I need some marketing dough?
Well, I've got it up down here, like 2/3, right? A third, which is also my pricing policy as well. A third to cost, a third to sell, a third profit. And it's in the marketing as well. So it's a third. So first of all, we're looking at marketing objectives, customers research, competitor research, and we're looking at a market environment. And when you think about the market environment, it's quite complicated as market environment. And when you're splitting it down to do a lot of research, for a serious product, you're talking about the political environment, the legal environment, more so now the environmental environment, the ethicals, the vulnerable environment. There's a new one called the vulnerable environment. How does it appeal to diverse communities, that kind of thing. Then we've got the technological digital environment. A marketer would look at all those environments and say how those impact your idea. Is it a strength? Does it support it? Or is it a weakness? Does it challenge your idea? Okay. And then there's the consumer environment, the behaviours. How do consumers behave? So there's all that. When you move away from that, all of that research is creating an understanding. And that's when a sole trader, a small business, a medium-sized business, once they've gathered all that on the table, they're able to look at it, they can say, now we understand who we are, what we do, who our customer is, who our main competitor is, and how we can get the product out there. Once they can answer those questions, those are tests at that point, they can then go to a designer and creative and say, this is who we are. Like Lucy's done that branding journal. This is who we are. This is who I am. This is my customer. This is my product. This is how I see it priced. This is the colour I think it should be. The visual tones. And this is where I think my USP is.
Yeah.
And when it's over to Lucy to do all of that and come up with something clever, informed, reflects, that the brand can resonate with and stand by as a strong, on its 2 feet brand. Only then have you got something to externalise to the marketplace. Because you're not ready before that.
No, it's not.
I think you've got to have that information. You've got to have that insight, to have that understanding, to be able to connect to your business as a business owner.
Yeah.
Because how are you expecting your target audience to connect to your business if you don't know how to connect to your business either?
Yeah.
And having that discussion or writing that down will give you clarification, and it's so much easier to market yourselves if you're clear on what you do.
Yeah.
Like why you do it.
Yeah. It's nothing worse. And I don't know. It's when people say to us about websites, and I'm like, give us 2 or 3 examples of websites you like, so we can kind of, they're like, don't really know. It's like, you do know, you'll have seen something and you'll bring up something, oh, I hate that. Yeah, right, okay, so we can, I said, this is kind of where you need to get to. And I guess it's the same with you when the people come in and they're like, he does the logo. Yeah, what do you do? Oh, electrician. Right, what do you like? Oh, don't worry, just so it's like a plug or electric. It's like, no, do Bethany. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah. So I think it's just a minefield, isn't it?
It's a minefield, but I think if you talk to the right people
Yeah.
and ask the right questions, it's actually a really fun process.
Oh, massively.
And, what you get out of thinking about your business and taking yourself seriously,
Yeah.
you're going to get more motivated, and people are going to really understand and connect to you.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want that connection.
Yeah. Massively. And you've got to love it as well. I think that's the biggest thing of when you get people and they're like, we get people come in and they're like, I've had this logo done, but I don't love it. But I've paid for it now, I've got to have it. And why you ain't going to shout about that? If you don't love it, you're not going to show it to people. Just get it redone, read it. Oh, but no, honestly, if because you have to see it everywhere. You have to love it. And like I say to them, if you're not sick of yourself and your logo, you've still not done it enough. When you are, you've still not done it enough. So
Well, brands can be tweaked, can't they, over time, and they evolve like we do, don't they? Because I think a product, a brand, a product, service, whatever, it's an entity. And I used to say to my clients that I've got that when a product is born, it's a baby,
yeah,
and you nurture that product through its life stages. And there's a very good academic diagram that explains this. It's called the Griner's growth strategy. And you nurture the growth through its early phases. And when it's kind of like 1 or 2 years old, that product or brand is like a toddler. And it is infuriating, it's irritating you, and you don't know what to do with it. So then you've got to look at it, and it's called the crisis is that in product development terms. And you look at it and say, what can we do with the product? Tweak, twist, turn it. Do we need to tweak the logo? You shouldn't change your brand. You can tweak your brand, but you shouldn't change it unless you've got a real reason to do so. So, and then it goes through the next 5 years, and suddenly that product is a teenager. And it's becoming cumbersome, and you can't manage it the same as it did when it was a baby. And therefore, you've got to think about its characteristics, how it's growing, and where it's going to grow to.
yeah,
So products and brands are like entities. They need a strong identity. They need a strong strapline, USP, for them to survive in that pond, because there's a lot of people out there doing something similar to you. Unless you put some twist on it, a flick on it, or whatever, you're just going to get mixed up with all those other goldfish. You need a silver stripe to make you stand out. One of the most fun times I've had was the cake lady. Oh, dream client, unfunded.
yeah.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, it was good. And I first interviewed her in her kitchen where she made cakes.
Yeah,
So you're going into somebody's house, she's baking the cakes, and the cakes are beautiful. I said, what do I do? So I'm like, we'll do some cake tasting. We didn't know which cakes would be the first cakes to launch, because she could make a range of cakes, but not all of them were marketable. So the chocolate and chili. The idea of getting your head around chocolate and chili versus Victorian sponge cake, it's difficult. So we knew the Victoria sponge would work. We knew that the banana and walnut would work, but the chocolate and chili. So we did a big cake tasting day.
Oh, that was awful. So that was lost to China's our news at working.
Where our business was based in the media centre in Huddersfield, we had a lovely rooms, suites of rooms. And so we could open up all these rooms and we'd have all the cakes laid down there. And we used to bring people in off the street, taste the cake. And then they had to see one of my staff there to tell them what they thought of the cakes and mark it up. So it's like a drop-in tasting cakes. And we came up with the most popular cake to launch first. And the chocolate and chili went down a treat. And that actually, all that insight gathered that day informed the packaging for the cake, the name for the cake. It was already named Proper Made, but how that name was expressed. We tested all of that, and she went from strength to strength with Proper Made cake. Things was wonderful. Sorry?
From that research.
Yes.
I'm doing all the research.
Another research project. This was challenging for my favourite client in Leeds. We got a double-decker bus in Leicester near Christmas. It was about this time, actually. A tasting bus. A tasting bus. And our job was to get so many tasters through that bus in 2 days. And they had to taste. The product we were developing was the equivalent of a Jaffa cake.
Oh, yeah.
It was like own brand versus main brand. A lot of my work was own brand versus main brand in the food and drink industry for the bigger companies. And we're looking to develop a biscuit I think it was made in Poland. So the client was Polish.
Yeah.
And they had tastings of different Jaffa cakes, monitoring, feeding back. A day and a half into this tasting challenge, it was really good fun. The client wanted the results again. She was on the phone again, 20 minutes. And so we haven't digested the data, we haven't processed the data, we have get it. I'm going on holiday. So we did it, and the product went ahead, the own brand Jaffa cake. And that was, all that data was done. She did her work before she went on holiday, and that product was on the supermarket shelf in January.
Wow.
Because the Polish people that were producing the recipe straight away, they knew how to tweak it from the tasting bus. And that's how I can't tell you which brand it was, but that's how their brand of the Jaffa cake was created. They invested in research.
Those are my favourites from, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't say no. But so getting involved in tasting for big branded stuff and for the small micro company that didn't know which cake to make.
Yeah.
Because she
exactly the same with
exactly
piece of work. So.
exactly.
But
Yeah, food and drink, lovely sector to work in. Very, very consumer driven. So that's where consumer insight is really valuable. And it's not like that in all sectors, but food and drink definitely. 100%. Health and well-being, big sector, done a lot of work in health and well-being. Lovely healthy drinks, fresh fruit, fresh people who eat fresh. Why do they eat fresh? When do they eat fresh? How often do they buy fresh? Where do they buy the fresh from? Yeah. One of the lovely projects, another one, I'm citing now, was my lobster project. Where my team, I had a research team, and we had to go out and stand in this particular store of a higher value oriented customer facing supermarket, and they had to stand in a certain place in that supermarket and talk to people who met a certain profile, and ask them, did they buy lobster?
Oh, well.
If they did buy lobster, question 2, how often did you buy lobster?
Weekly. Oh, lobster week.
Yeah.
Third question,
So Friday dinner.
what did
Shit.
Yeah.
when did you eat it? What did you eat it with? Was it a special occasion or was it a weekly purchase?
Yeah.
How much did you pay for your lobster? How much should you be prepared? All that data went into the middle of the room in this particular supermarket. They knew who their lobster customer was, and everything about it. They knew the profile of the customer, so they knew using that data, especially now in digital marketing, they can now target that market. Socials.
Massively.
So, what you were saying before about data gathered 5-10 years ago is instrumental now and useful and valuable. And I had a note from one of my chocolate clients the other day on LinkedIn. He said, the research you did in 2012, Susan, we're still using that data.
Amazing.
I thought, brilliant.
Yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Investment.
Going in, great data coming out, and it will go on for.
So in defensive market research, and strategy and planning it, I think whatever the clients are saying they can't afford, to do that bit, you just want a picture, just want a website. If they did that foundation work and be better prepared and do something that's a little bit more informed, the value out of that will be returned over years.
Oh, 100%.
If you miss that bit out, you're talking of something that's very vulnerable and fragile, based on wind.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's a wing and a prayer.
Bad fun.
Oh, brilliant. Well, on that note, we'll leave it there on a fart. Will you come back on?
Yeah.
Come on for a second time. Yeah. Because I think we could put some questions out for Susan.
Well,
but yeah.
I've got my little dag. I've done my prep.
And your prep will come back on. But thanks for listening. We will have all of Lu's information and Susan's information in the show notes. So, but yeah, I think if you've loved this episode, listen again, because I think we'll definitely get them back. And if you can, as always, subscribe, listen, and share with someone. If you've got someone with that marketing question, definitely share this episode and get them to give them a listen. But thanks for coming on, and we'll have you back.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please share with a friend who you think needs a bit of help with starting a business, or even their small business which they've already got going. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which always helps a small business or small podcast like us. And check the show notes. We all have everything in there relating to the episode which you might need, might want to read, and links to anyone we've interviewed and certain subjects we've spoken about. And thanks for listening.